All right, folks. So for this one, I really wanted to focus heavy on that sci-fi pounding techno beat, very machine-like sounding, which I think fits this type of game pretty well. If we look at the drums first, we have a pretty basic drum pattern here, and we have our kick. That's just 4 on the floor. Then we have our clap, every other layered up with the kick. So kind of typical Boots and Cats house beat. Then we have our open hats here. Again, very typical for a house beat pattern. And then what I also did was took this tambourine sound and just put in these machine gun 16th notes here. So it's just da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, right? It's constantly rolling forward. And so if we just solo it, it sounds like this. And so to me, I really like that sound and that kind of pattern in this song, because I thought it conveyed that this drum machine or these beats were made with a program, which I think is just like the essence of techno from my perspective, in my opinion, right? Just using a computer to generate music. And so it also just keeps that rhythm going, you can mess with the velocities on every other hit here. So you'll see, I'm kind of alternating the velocities there to have a little bit of like ducking and that giddy up effect on there. But we're just rolling those out through the rest of the song. And then also layered up with this open hat here, 2 of them, is this little rim shot. Kind of sounds very techno-y, just a little block sound there. I just thought it sounded good with everything. And then what I did in various parts of the song is layered up a ride cymbal. And on that ride cymbal, I did that same 16th note pattern, just machine gun effect across the song. So we have the beat as is, and then that ride comes in. All right, just super sci-fi dystopian, machine gun shots there. And then throughout the arrangement, we're kind of just manipulating those drums, bringing that in and out of the beat. And something else I did on here, if I come in, is I am modulating the left-right panning of that second ride cymbal with a moderately fast LFO here. So that ride, that second one, kind of gets panned around as it comes in and out of the song. It's kind of an interesting effect I pulled from some old atmospheric drum and bass tunes. Now, there are a few other pieces in the song where I layered up some additional percussion. One is right here. So this is another open hat song or sound that I'm playing somewhat off time from the open hat and the main beat here. So just kind of like layering up those 2 sounds. Then throughout the song, we have a couple other items. So in this kind of breakdown here, we just have some crash cymbals. Right, kind of leading us out of that break, bringing all the elements back in. And then we have this little snare roll sample here too. So as we transition in the arrangement, into new phrases, we kind of have that big classic techno snare roll going in. All right, next thing we have here is a bass, and this is just nice little fat bass sample there. And so that bass sample comes from the ELAB ecstasy files of Techno Sample Pack. Actually got a lot of the samples in this song from that sample pack. Great little pack there for kind of old school techno, very period relevant. I think it came out in the 90s as well. And what we're doing with the bass is just an offbeat bass pattern. So think the kick happens on the first beat here, kick plays, then the bass, kick plays, then the bass. And so it creates this really nice driving bass line just off the tail end of that beat. So if I solo, right? Just super straightforward, just chugging along there. I think it just fits this kind of song perfectly, right? We're not doing anything fancy there. It's just beat, bass, chugging along. Now we get into the synths here. And a lot of the songs in this soundtrack used a lot of acid synths, which is very relevant for techno as well. And so I have a very simple 1-bar loop here that I got from a sample pack. And that's it, right? And so we just let that ride out here. And again, I think very relevant if you look at some of the tracks on the CD. I mean, they're just rolling out there, right? And the changes in the sounds and the sonics are very subtle. So really, again, the goal here is get those drums chugging along, the bass chugging along, just do, that's going. And then you have that sick, acid line on top of things. Now, I did chop this up in another part of the song and brought in some other sounds. So I took that same loop, just chopped it up a little and tried to arrange it and use that sound in conjunction with another sound here, which is a acid stab sample. And so I put a filter on that sample. Just a little low pass filter there. Give it a little more fatness, a little more resonance through a delay. And I have that chopped up acid line from before playing with that stab. So we have the acid line, plays a quick little lick, then the stab plays something, acid line, stab, acid line, acid line. Another sound here, a little FX one shot, right? And so we're trying to mix up the pattern a little, using some similar sounds from before, really just quick shot playing off of each other. And so these very simple, very straightforward, very acidy, sci-fi sounds. If you're going for this type of techno, acid sounds all the way. It can take you really far. Another hallmark of this soundtrack was just the atmospherics in a lot of these songs. So good usage of atmospheric sample packs. So the one I showed earlier, XTC Files of Techno, a lot of great sounds in there, but go dig really any sample pack from the 90s. Ambient sample packs like the 0G Ambient series are going to be fantastic. And really it's finding spots to drop those sound effects in. So I can just go through some of them. One is more of like a transitionary effect going into a new phrase. Then we have this little sonar sound. I mean, can you make techno and not have a sonar sound? You kind of need it. It's mandatory. And so we're playing off that sound, depending on where we are in the song, right? We're trying to play these atmospherics off of the other elements in the song. So, right here, for example, we have the sonar sound play. Then we bring in that ride. Ride cuts out. Sonar comes back in. Ride comes back in, right? So on and off binary techno, amazing. And so there's another sound to hear right there. Another kind of atmospheric sound transitioning into a new phrase. So that's a great tip there. Outside of playing with those sounds in terms of how they interact with other elements is, again, using those elements to transition into new pieces of the song. And then we get into this crazy break here where we have some more atmospheric sounds. We got this guy here. And so this is just a little bit of a loop that I dropped in here. One of them plays at its normal tempo, and then the next one I pitch down a good bit here. Through a big reverb, through a big delay, a little bit of EQ on there. But, atmosphere is super important in a techno song like this. So we're dropping those things in, bringing the atmospherics in and out. And then in our little break here that you heard at the beginning of this video, we have our song kind of chugging along. It's going. And I did put in this break here where, we drop out that 4 on the floor beat we bring in the twerk claps, as I call them, because you hear this type of beat in a song today, you're twerking. So basically we take that clap and we put it where the kick drum would be normally, right? So, right? And so we go into this break, that clap is taking the place of the kick drum and it's still driving the song forward, right? Like if I had no drums there, the song would just fall flat, energy just boop, goes away. While we did get rid of the kick, I think the claps do a good job of keeping that like da, 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 right? Like the energy's still going, lets you know we're kind of building back up, and then we drive or drop everything here, right? So we go into the twerk claps. We still have our sounds playing here. We have our sound effects coming in and out. It's building all this tension, all these sound effects. Then the kick comes back in. You know something's coming. Then another kick comes in, with a crash. The crashes start to speed up. The drum roll comes in. And then bam, you're right back into that very, robotic, techno-y beat and song there. So that's how I put this one together, folks. Ghost in the Shell soundtrack, a really great soundtrack there. I mean, honestly, every song on there is fantastic. You have a mixture of styles in there, from straight traditional techno to more housey techno. Just a lot of variety on there. So definitely go check that out. Appreciate the time, you guys. Hope you have a great holiday season with your friends and family. We'll see you on the next one.